Hi guys, it's Victoria and welcome back to FemmeHead. Today I want to talk about making the decision to stop pumping. It is great to set out with a goal in mind when it comes to breastfeeding or pumping, but from my experience there's a fine line between being motivated and determined and stressing yourself out beyond what it's worth. So a little bit of background, Theo was exclusively breastfed for the first 4 months. And then it was a combination of breastfed and bottle-fed fortified breast milk for the next 2 months. And then he was bottle-fed breast milk and formula until 8 months. And at 8 months, he was just exclusively formula-fed. And I'll get into that. Ever since I started pumping, my milk supply just started dwindling down. And it got to the point where I was getting like maybe an ounce a pumping session if I was lucky. But at that point I was like, okay, it's still worth it because he's eating, like 3 to 4 ounces. That's still a good chunk. But then it got to the point to where I was lucky if I pumped an ounce over an entire day of pumping. And that was the point in which I realized this just is not worth it anymore. I just felt really down and sad every time I pumped because it was such a small amount, and I felt guilty that I wasn't producing more breast milk. I felt like I had messed up and I was doing something wrong and it was my fault, and like, how could I not get my milk supply back up? And I just really got down on myself about it. And then when he wouldn't finish the tiny amount of breast milk that I was able to pump and I had to dump it down the drain, it was just, that was gut-wrenching because you're like, this is liquid gold, and if they don't finish a bottle that they've already drank from within an hour or two of starting that bottle, you have to dump it down the drain because their bacteria from their saliva and everything has been introduced in the bottle and kind of contaminates it, and it just, yeah, you don't want to feed that to your baby after, I think 2 hours is the max. Don't get me wrong, formula is expensive. I think it's around $30 a week for us in formula for Theo, and that might, like $30 might not sound like a lot, but $30 a week adds up quickly. I'm grateful for how long I was able to breastfeed him and then pump for him because I did save a lot of money, and there are so many wonderful benefits to breast milk for your baby. But the cost savings and breast milk positives aside, formula is not the end of the world. Once I made the decision, okay, I'm gonna stop pumping, and I actually stopped pumping, there was just this huge sense of relief. I still get occasionally bummed out that I no longer breastfeed because I really, really, really love breastfeeding. It's such a bonding experience between you and your baby, and I absolutely loved it. I hope I can breastfeed again in the future and for longer with future kids. I've learned a lot from this experience. When it got to the point where like I didn't get a breastfeed and pumping wasn't working out and I wasn't pumping hardly anything, it was just like, what am I stressing myself out for? I'm really curious to see how breastfeeding and pumping goes with future kids because of what I've learned from my experience with Theo. Like, I have learned a lot of lessons and I made a video about it. Start pumping consistently sooner, even when you are breastfeeding, exclusively breastfeeding them, and to not skip any pumping or feeding sessions unless they're sleeping through the night, those sort of things. Theo is almost 10 months old now. He drinks plenty of milk and he's eating real human adult food. I don't know, real food. He doesn't eat, obviously a large amount of real food, but he really enjoys it. But then again, he also likes eating wood chips and mud, so he's a baby. I just want to do my part and share my experience because I feel like it's important, because I know there are so many other moms out there experiencing something similar, if not the same thing, and they're beating themselves up about it. I know I beat myself up about it for a long time when breastfeeding wasn't working out, when my milk supply was dwindling, making that decision of like, okay, he's not going to get any more breast milk. It's a big one, but at the same time, like, it's what we both needed. Maybe not him as much as me. I'm going to go get my baby. I'll be right back. I don't know how this is going to go because he saw the laptop. You sit in my lap? Here, let's put this guy. Or do you want this? I'm obviously not the governing force of what's best for your child. You are. But I just want to say it's okay. I think it's totally normal to grieve what could have been with your breastfeeding, pumping, whatever journey it is you're on. But you have to let go of the guilt. You can feel sad and bummed out about it, but don't beat yourself up because it didn't work out for whatever. Like, there's so many different reasons it doesn't work out. So do not feel guilty about it. Don't beat yourself up. Just look at it as a learning experience. You've got to do what's best for you and your baby. If you are drained, stressed out, and like pushing yourself beyond like what you're capable of, that's not good for you. And then to turn around to expect to be the best version of yourself for not only you, but your child, your family, your friends, the people you surround yourself with, is just unrealistic. you can't pour from an empty glass, or whatever the saying is, and that's totally true. You have to take care of yourself, and do not feel selfish about that. Do not feel guilty about that. Like I said, Theo's almost 10 months old. He is alive and thriving. He's healthy. He's hitting all of his milestones. He's a super cool kid. I like to set out goals and kind of expectations and things that I would like to happen, but I also like to go with the flow, because I know things don't always work out how you expect them to. I was sad. I was really bummed out when breastfeeding didn't work out. To just let go of that guilt and let go of like the anxiety and stress I was putting on myself was a really healthy thing. I am at peace with where we are, with everything that's happened. But like I said, it's a learning experience for future kids. If I can share my experience with like friends that are gonna have kids, with anybody watching the videos that I make. Please stop hitting my computer with that. That's really loud, I'm sure. There's no way to know everything your first time around. Like, you're going to learn things with each child. I feel like I've done a pretty bang up job so far with my first kid. Yeah, breastfeeding didn't work out, but one thing I've learned about parenting is you win some, you lose some, and you have to let go of your losses and celebrate your victories, because there's always something that's going on. There's always something that is testing you, that you're struggling with. Like, you make it through one difficult phase, and then, oh my gosh, he's teething and waking up, and his gums hurt, and he's really cranky, and he's not napping. Like, there's always going to be something, and you just have to go with the flow and learn along the way. Things are going to happen. Things are going to happen that are outside your control, and it's okay. Once breastfeeding wasn't gonna work out, I was like, I'm gonna pump for, the first year, and like whatever I can give him, that's something, that's a positive. But to get to the point at 8 months where I'm like, God, this is not like, is this worth it? To get to the point where I was pumping less than an ounce a day, it was just like, it was more stress and more work than it was worth for me. Yeah, I'm sure like that 3/4 of an ounce of breast milk would have been great, but it's not the end of the world. And then for him to refuse it or not drink at all and to just waste it, like to have to get rid of something that you have worked so hard for and you've stressed yourself out so much for, it just, yeah, it got to the point where I'm like, this is not worth it anymore. It's not really benefiting either of us, and he's gonna be fine in formula, and he is. He's a pretty cool kid, and I like him a lot. I'm gonna stop rambling. I gotta change a poopy diaper. I've got a child crawling around trying to get onto my laptop. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe if you aren't already, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.